for number 67, y prime. If we have y being the sine of something, then y prime is the cosine of that something. If the something is not just x, we have to multiply by the derivative of the something. Derivative of tangent is secant squared. And then, since it's not just tangent of x, it's tangent of 2x, then we have to use the chain rule again. The derivative of the tangent of 2x is the secant squared of 2x times the derivative of 2x, which is 2. And so we could rewrite that with a 2 in front, but you get the idea. Since the derivative of e to the x is e to the x, the derivative of e to the radical x is e to the radical x, times the derivative of radical x. The derivative of radical x is 1/2 times x to the negative 1/2, or 1 over 2 radical x. So we could rewrite this as e to the radical x over 2 radical x. That's it. So if y is ln of x, then y prime is 1 over x. But if y equals ln of e to the x squared, then y prime is still 1 over e to the x squared, but we have to multiply by the derivative of e to the x squared. Well, the derivative of e to the x squared is e to the x squared times the derivative of x squared. So when we look at all of this, oh wow, does that mean it's just going to be 2x? It's just 2x. So we have e to the x squared times 2x over e to the x squared. Those guys cancel, we just get 2x. So in problem number 119, we're supposed to find the equation of the tangent line to this graph at the point pi 0. If we want an equation of a tangent line, we have to have an x1, a y1, and we have to have a slope. Well, the slope at a particular point is just going to be the derivative. Well, the derivative of sine of 8x is cosine of 8x times the derivative of 8x, which is 8. So f prime is equal to 8 times the cosine of 8x. Now, f prime at the point pi 0, since f prime only depends on x, we only have to put the x in. So we have 8 times the cosine of 8 pi, which is cosine of 8 pi. That brings us all the way around to the right side, 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, and 8 pi. So right there, the cosine of that angle is 1. 8 times 1 is 8. So we have the slope being 8, the point pi, and the point is pi 0, and the slope is 8. So y minus y1 equaling slope times x minus x1. The y1 is 0, the slope is 8, and the x1 is pi. And so that's it. Y equals 8x minus 8 pi. And I'll let you show that on your graphing calculator, but that's probably the hardest part right there, just getting the equation of the tangent line. Finding an equation of a tangent line is one of the single most important problems that you can solve in this unit. Find an equation of a tangent line, and that's what we're trying to do here. In order to find an equation of a tangent line, we have to have a point, an ordered pair, and we have to have a slope. And to get the slope, let's rewrite f of x as tangent of x quantity squared. And so if f is equal to that, we get the slope of our tangent line by taking the derivative. And taking the derivative using the chain rule, we notice that we have something to the second power, and so the derivative is 2 times that something to the first power times the derivative of that something, secant squared of x. Now if we want to know what the slope of the tangent line is when x is equal to pi over 4, since the derivative only depends on x, and so we only have to put an x in. So the derivative when x is equal to pi over 4 is 2 times the tangent of pi over 4 times the secant squared of pi over 4. But I'm going to write that as the secant of pi over 4 squared. Now we know that the tangent of pi over 4 has a value of 1, and the secant of pi over 4 is the reciprocal of the cosine, and the cosine is radical 2 over 2, so the secant is 2 over radical 2. So what we have here before the dust settles here is 2 times 1 times 2 over radical 2 squared. You got to be really careful here. A lot of places to make mistakes. So 2 times, now 2 over radical 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. Radical 2 squared is 2. And so what we end up getting is just 4. So that's the slope of the tangent line. And remember, the x1, y1 was, the y1 was 1, slope is 4, and the x1 is pi over 4. And that's the equation of the tangent line. And if you wanted to solve for y, go ahead and do that. But that's the slope of the that's the equation of the tangent line to the graph of f of x equals tangent squared of x at the point pi over 4, 1.